condition myself to not see and I do that on purpose to make sure that it's totally covering my eyes.
Okay.
You could condition yourself to see through the patches too. Oh man, I hope I could do this. I hope I'm not going to make a fool of myself.
You can't see me right now?
No, not right now. I hope I can when I put on the blindfold.
The blindfold helps, huh?
Yeah. Let's see what happens. Okay. Yeah, I can. It's halfway open, so I can still see.
You can still see?
Yeah, I can still see.
Okay. How many fingers am I holding up?
4.
How many fingers am I holding up now?
It's 1. See, the windows are kind of small. But
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a stack of books here.
Okay.
That you have not seen. They're on in front of the desk.
Come on, open. Oh, they're starting to open. Yay. Okay.
All right.
Okay, hopefully I can see. Okay, let's do it. So this says Area 51. It says, what is that? Uncensored. What did that say? Something top secret military base.
Yep, that's right. My God.
Okay, so this one is windows open. It says Mother of God.
Yep.
Okay. It's starting to open more. I'm starting to see on both sides now. Yes. Okay, perfect.
In 1994, this man was disappeared, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with what he was working on. So at the age of 12, Jacobo decided he wanted to study the human mind because he recently lost his mother to a brain tumor. He studied psychology and neuroscience and got a PhD from NYU. And that PhD focused on the relationship between the mind and the body. But here's the thing about Jacobo. He did what many scientists are afraid to do. He wanted to see if there was a link between science and shamanism, mysticism, these supernatural or spiritual topics. And being from Mexico, he focused primarily on Mexican shamanism. By combining his scientific background with his shamanic and mystical background, he was able to learn things that would challenge conventional science. 1, he worked really closely with a Mexican shaman named Pacita. He would witness and document her psychic surgeries that she would perform on people. He would describe her ability to literally manifest organs for people. She was able to perform these impossible surgeries. How? Well, Jacobo says she was able to access higher forms of reality, tap into higher energy fields, if you will, and use them to change this reality. Why? Because we're living in the Matrix. We're living in a holographic reality where we project reality. The individuals on the telepathy tapes talk about this. Jacobo talks about this. She is literally a computer programmer that was able to change the program. That change manifests a new reality. Jacobo proposed what he calls the synergy theory. The idea is simply that we live in a holographic informational matrix that is shaped by our conscious projections. And he suggests that people with high neuronal energy fields can manipulate this matrix. They're just advanced coders within the system. After he finished his PhD in psychophysiology, he decided to return back to Mexico. His purpose was to apply scientific methodologies into his exploration of traditional shamanic practices. He worked very closely with a healer named Pacita, and let's dive into her story. So she was born in the early 1900s, and this was a turbulent time during the Mexican Revolution. She was abandoned as a child and was raised by a man named Charles, and she said that he taught her how to read the stars and how to heal people. As she grew in these experiences, she became famous as a shaman and a healer. She was famous for her psychic surgeries, which were performed with a kitchen knife. So here's how it would work. Patients would bring supplies like cotton, alcohol, bandages. So Pacita would begin to enter a trance-like state. She claimed that she would travel to other dimensions, and within those dimensions, she would create new organs. She would then return and replace the faulty organ with the new organ that she created. So her tool was a simple kitchen knife with an engraved native figure on it, and it was wrapped in electrical tape. Patients would come and visit her in her Casa de las Brujas. That translates to the House of Witches. It's located in Mexico City. In these consultation sessions, energetically, she'd be able to tell if there was a potential for healing or not. If she was unable to heal them, she would still help them and prepare them to die with dignity. He eventually had international fame for the crazy things that she was able to accomplish. She attracted the attention of politicians, celebrities, artists, musicians. But Jacobo decided to study her extensively. He observed the trance-like state that she would go into during her operations. He says this is her gaining access into the universal consciousness field. Quote, she did not see with her eyes, but with her consciousness. She could perceive the defects in organs of her patients and replace them with new ones, saying Pacita was able to manipulate the structure of reality through her will and intention. The surgeries were not physical, but energetic. When talking about the replacing of organs and the building of them in different dimensions, he says, she would reach into the etheric field of existence, pull out an organ and place it into the patient. The body would then adapt to the new reality. Now listen to this. Her ability lay in merging her consciousness with the patient's, accessing a shared lattice and then transforming it through focused intention. Now remember, this man is highly, highly educated, a PhD. One of my favorite quotes he says was, I witnessed miracles that challenged everything I knew about science and reality. Pacita operated in a dimension where the rules were different. Now there are thousands of stories of people witnessing these healing. There's also stories of people that she wasn't able to heal. Passed away in 1979, and the legend says that her body remained warm for multiple days after her death. Jacobo also performed many experiments regarding telepathy and other psychic abilities. He would look at things through meditation, look at two brains, and what they found is there was a synchronization that would happen where the sharing of information could happen. Through his experiments, he suggests that there's an interconnectedness of consciousness at all levels. He was working on some pretty amazing things, and in December 1994, just before his 48th birthday, he disappeared. There are so many conspiracies around why and how he disappeared. His wife claimed that he was traveling, but there's no flight records or any sightings whatsoever. Some people think he was silent. Some people think he was taken by the CIA. Some people think that he just pieced out on this reality and went to higher planes of consciousness.
You're saying the whole of the universe can exist in one electron?
The Dalai Lama wrote a book called The Entire Universe in One Atom. And then when the three of us were invited, myself and Nassim Haramein and someone else were invited to speak with the Dalai Lama, 4 years ago, he had invited us. He said, I want to know about your work. And I pushed Nassim forward. I said, tell him about your finding with it. And he said, I have this equation that proves what you wrote in your book 15 years ago. He says, I've actually proven, here's the equation. And he gave him the math of it, that the entire mass of the known universe, when reduced, take all the space out, it will fit inside one proton, which it... What?
Mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. But it explains omniscience and omnipresence.
It explains everything. All points in space and time are connected. All things, the oneness of the creator, that everything is connected. Self-symmetry.
At a distance, everything.
Even what you're talking
about.
Entanglement. Yeah, talking about the imprint of the mass is the fingerprint of like the micro also. Like, this is probably the fundamental thing we talk about here, which is essentially by working on healing yourself and healing and aligning your world, you heal the whole. And why? We don't need to necessarily go beyond the boundaries of our own reality to adjust and correct and evolve the self and the whole simultaneously.
All the teachings tell you go within.
Consciousness can jump through time, meaning gut feelings are memories from the future, scientists propose. It's linked to quantum entanglement, where the brain may be entangled with its future state, because you know how two things can exist at the same time.
Yes.
So if your future state is interacting with your past state, your gut feeling, that's what they're trying to...
That's a great scientific way of saying your higher self or your future highest version of yourself knows what the best aligned path is for you, and that's why you get that gut feeling.
That would suggest that we've already lived.
Not already lived. So remember, time is a linear illusion that we hold here in the third dimension. So that would be not already lived, are living everything at the same time all at once.
So every possibility is there.
Yes.
Depending on the choice you make next, because of free will.
So remote viewers talk about that there is no tomorrow, there is no yesterday, there's only now. And our illusion of being stuck in this linear time is like a trap.
Our bodies being
containers.
Like
a container,
for the soul.
Well, this is why when they say we need to rise, break through to the fourth and fifth dimension, where time does not necessarily hold us within this one point.
That's something I can't grasp.
I don't think we're supposed to.
How do we break through? Because that means we'd have to lose this form. If we're a container, we can't.
It's our frequency. I'm not going to pretend to understand if we can escape that or if our role is to understand we can't. And this is just like a soul evolution training center.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably that's probably what I subscribe to the most.
It's an interesting. You understand that you're the observer. You're not the person. You're the whatever, the void observing our feelings and emotions. Now, what is that thing observing? Maybe some people might call that God, consciousness, whatever. I don't know, but that's what you are deep down.
Retired Technical Sergeant Dan Sherman claims that while serving in the Air Force in the early 90s, he was recruited for an extremely classified program at the NSA, or National Security Agency. This program was called Project Preserve Destiny. Project Preserve Destiny's purpose? To telepathically decode alien signals for the NSA. You heard me right. Alien signals that seem to telepathically transmit descriptions of alien abductions across the United States. Alien signals that ultimately gave our very curious guest answers about the very nature of the alien presence on Earth, how these beings travel, how they conceive of time, what they think about humans, and much, much more. Dan Sherman was originally told by the Air Force captain who read him into the program that he was given this telepathic ability by the aliens themselves when they abducted Sherman's pregnant mother in the early 1960s and altered his genetics while he was a fetus in her womb. This genetic blueprint would allow him to grow into what the NSA would dub an intuitive communicator.
With the IC communication, you can feel it in your brain. You can feel, you can't localize it. It's not a localization, but I can feel like it's in that area of my brain right there.
Whoa. And Sherman believes the NSA may even have tracked him since childhood into his young adulthood and military service until he was finally read into the program.
Do you think that the NSA or powers that be know that this interview is happening?
He said, I'm going to play a tone, and I want you to mentally hum that tone. And he said that you will eventually feel a connection. The line will change. When I saw the sine wave move, I went, oh, okay, well, there's a mental disconnect there that's not supposed to be happening. That this is not possible. Anyway, we just sat there and he unveiled this mind-blowing thing to me, proceeded to tell me that I was part of a project that started in 1960, I believe it was, and the genesis of it was in 1947. We came in contact with an alien species, and in 1960, they started a project. It was called Project Preserve Destiny. It was designed to genetically manage fetuses, human fetuses, so that they would have the heightened ability to do this particular thing that I was going to school for. My mother was one of the selected targets, or whatever you want to call it. The result of it was that it gave me the ability to have this communications.
That was in order for you to become an intuitive communicator who is basically able to receive messages from
receive and transmit.
Receive and transmit.
Yeah, communicate basically, back and forth.
If UFOs aren't actually flying through space, but actually entering our dimensional plane, right? So think of a higher dimensional object casting a shadow into our dimensional plane and casting something kind of like this that we can't physically comprehend. It's like the brain theory, right? A branch of string theory, our entire universe could be a three-dimensional brain. Floating in a higher dimensional space, other brains could exist parallel to ours, much like here, each a separate universe with different physical properties that sometimes overlap. Now we're going to step in towards the crop circles, okay? Not all crop circles are real, but there are some which are definitely strange, and most crop circles, the authentic ones, you can actually create three-dimensional objects or 4D objects from these shapes that are two-dimensional on our plane, and create some very peculiar and interesting things. And a lot of these objects are actually blueprints and represent some stuff that we know about in quantum physics and beyond. And it really does make you scratch your head. Are these, for instance, some sort of information that's being kind of manifested into our plane of existence that we can't quite physically comprehend, which is from beyond? Now, string theory suggests there could be up to 10 or 11 dimensions, most of which are compactified, curled up so tightly that we don't directly experience them. They can overlap and interfere with our dimension, and we might see things manifesting in such strange ways. Although brain theory suggests like some of the objects could appear as a transient luminous object like we see here, a phenomena that appears and disappears without travelling any measurable distance here, so things that seem to teleport, and other morphing type objects that don't actually make any sense, okay? And a lot of the UFO phenomena we see seem to change shapes that just don't really correlate with anything that we seem to know about or understand. Now imagine what a third dimensional object would look like to something on a two-dimensional plane, and it's travelling through that 2D plane. It would look absolutely obscenely weird, much like what we experience with the UFO phenomenon. The 2D beings would see it morph, vanish, reappear, impossible moves, and instant acceleration, much like we experience. Now, if our universe is a 3D membrane floating in a higher dimension, maybe UFOs are intersections, a glimpse of something beyond the physics itself, something far beyond what we can physically comprehend, bruh.
Have you ever heard of Pine Gap?
What is Pine Gap?
Better known as the Australian Area 51.
Ooh. Everyone's got their own, I guess, right?
It is near Alice Springs. People have reported for a long time that around Pine Gap, there's a lot of UFO activity.
Interesting.
It's a joint effort between the United States and Australia, but basically who runs Pine Gap is the CIA.
The American CIA.
American CIA. A lot of people report seeing strange lights in the sky, moving silently and rapidly. And then there's this one account in the 1970s where these Aboriginal trackers, they saw something crash and they went to observe it. They're in the bush, these Aboriginal trackers, and they found this smooth metallic sphere partially embedded in sand emitting a low hum or vibration. The object was reportedly cool to the touch despite being in the desert heat, about the size of a basketball, perfectly symmetrical, seamless, and impossible to open. One of the men picked it up but said it felt strangely heavy for its size and gave the sensation like it was pulling at his insides.
Ew.
The story also includes the orb started levitating slightly when placed on the ground. The men later approached the military personnel who confiscated it and warned them never to speak of it. One of the men became ill and disoriented afterward.
That's crazy. I think that's wild to me, though. Like, just how that works, like, especially if the CIA is involved. Like, that's American agents and the stuff that must happen there. We think Area 51's a problem. Guess what? No Americans are doing anything about that. They're not sneaking in there.
People don't realize in Australia that we have two of the top bases that are absolutely important for America in the event of a nuclear war. In the event of a nuclear war, do not be anywhere near Alice Springs or a place called Pine Gap or Exmouth in Western Australia. Both of those locations contain bases that are integral to the American strategic nuclear defense, and they will be obliterated in a nuclear war. And something has been taking a very close interest in those bases. I've spoken to American and Australian people who've told me firsthand of objects being seen and detected around those locations. There is an intelligence allegedly engaging with this planet that's been taking an interest in particularly our nuclear weapons, probably out of concern. I do think the evidence is overwhelming that there is a non-human intelligence. That's the new word, NHI, not necessarily alien, because it might be interdimensional.
Breaking news. The TikTok deal has been finalized. CEO of Oracle, Larry Ellison, has purchased 80% of the company, with 20% remaining with ByteDance, which is the original owner of TikTok. So Larry Ellison, in this past year, has purchased CBS, Paramount, the Free Press, TikTok, and now he's in talk to buy CNN. That is a lot of power for one man. That is a lot of media power for one man. It's crazy. The richest man on the earth, Elon Musk, owns X. The second richest man on the earth is about to be the major owner of TikTok, Larry Ellison. The third richest owner owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. That's a lot of data, Mark Zuckerberg. The fourth richest owns the Washington Post with his Jeff Bezos, owner of Amazon. He also owns a lot of data. This looks like the billionaires are on a data war.
citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
In 2016, when Trump was trying to ban TikTok the first time, TikTok began storing its data in the US with Oracle. Now, Trump announced that Oracle and Ellison would essentially be taking over TikTok's domestic operations here in the US. And not just taking it over, the main thing Oracle is going to be tasked with is running the algorithm. So TikTok will now have its algorithm controlled by Oracle and Larry Ellison. So if that weren't enough, Ellison has also been giving all this money to his son, who started Skydance. Last week, they closed the deal to buy the Free Press for $150 million. And now Ellison and Skydance, which also bought Paramount, CBS, all this, they're now looking to buy CNN. So there's a chance that they could own Paramount's assets. I mean, they already own all Paramount's assets, CBS, the Free Press. They're looking to buy Warner Discovery, which would come with CNN, HBO, and so on. So they're in the position of becoming a father-son duo that totally controls both big tech, or at least has a large power over big tech via TikTok and traditional media via these other assets. Number 3 is the Tony Blair Institute. I want to make sure it's Institute, not Initiative, TBI. Tony Blair Institute. Tony Blair, who was the Britain's kind of George Bush equivalent back in the 2000s, but he's remained relevant, including through its institute, which lobbies or essentially promotes research and advice on how the government can use tech. Well, the biggest funder of the TBI, Tony Blair Institute, is Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison has injected $343 million into this. And you might wonder why, who cares? Why does he care so much about British politics?
The first thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model. You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your genomic data.
And what the UK has, and Ellison has said this, is unusually great health data because the National Health Service. So that's government-funded healthcare. The UK keeps very good track of this data. Ellison is saying you need to organize this data so we can use it. Tony Blair Institute has said the same exact thing. So one thing that both of them called for is digital ID, essentially a database where the government can track you and they can keep tabs on you, all with this digital identification that you would have. They say this is to fight illegal immigration, make it so illegal immigrants can't work, and just to keep everybody safe. About 2-3 weeks ago, the UK government announced that they would pursue this policy, sparking a big backlash on both sides of the aisle in Britain, not among everybody, but among certain people on both sides. Certainly anyone who's skeptical of government did not like the sound of this. Who wants this?
Tony Blair and Larry Ellison.
London is a violent hellhole. I know this because the media constantly tells me this. But you know me, I'm an evidence-based kind of guy, so what do the stats say? There are 2 big problems with comparing crime rates across countries or time periods. First, definitions change. 40 years ago, if a man slapped a woman's backside in the pub, he was one of the lads. Nowadays, it would be treated as a sexual offence. Second, it's that rates of reporting change. 15 years ago, if somebody had randomly shoved me against a wall, realistically, there is nothing I would have done about it. Nowadays, it would take me 5 minutes to report that online. That's why murder is such a good stat to use. It's the ultimate in violent crime. Also, it's immune from changes in definition. You've either got a dead body, you haven't, and changes in the rate of reporting. Let's see just how bad London really is. Oh, wait a second. We've actually got the second fewest murders going back to 1990. And if we look at it on a 12-month rolling basis, we've only had 89 murders in the last 12 months in London, which is the lowest since this data has been provided. That's just murder. We all know London is famous for knife crime. What stat can we use that is immune from changes in definition and reporting? How about NHS admissions in London due to assault with a sharp object? Oh, okay, so that's also at a 12-year low. What's shocking about this is I haven't actually given you any crime rates yet. These have been absolute figures. In a time when London's population has massively increased, mainly due to immigration, the number of people being killed, not the percentage, the actual number of people being killed, has fallen. Why do the media and certain politicians lying about how dangerous London is, when in my lifetime it's literally never been safer? What's their agenda?
The UK is officially a dictatorship under Keir Starmer's Labour government, let me explain. So we're all aware by now of the digital IDs, the crackdown on free speech, the Online Safety Act and the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill, all being implemented in an attempt to control every aspect of our lives. Well, now the UK government are taking it one step further and pushing for total dietary control. They started recently by forcing Nando's to stop refillable soft drinks. Then just the other day, they introduced carbon score allowances to sandwiches, which insinuates that when the digital IDs begin rolling out, you won't even be able to choose what you eat if it exceeds what the government deemed to be too bad for the environment. And now there are even reports of the Labour government banning birthday cakes for kids at nurseries. Now, I'm all for healthy living. I live very healthily myself. But what makes the government think they can dictate what your kids eat in general, let alone on their birthdays? This is the exact totalitarian control I warned everyone about. The digital IDs were never about immigration. They're about your finances, your freedoms, your lifestyle choices. And the minute you decide to sign up for one is the exact same minute that you decide to sell yours and your future generation's souls to the government.
If you see this camera in your town, it's already over. Across the UK and the US have started rolling out these AI facial recognition cameras, and yeah, it's exactly what it sounds. These things are disguised as normal CCTV cameras, but they scan every single face that goes past them. What this then does is pick up the person who's walked past it, and then automatically using AI scan it against a criminal database to see if you're wanted or you've done anything wrong. There is going to be someone watching and then proceeding further depending on who you are. Now, I'm not really sure how far this goes, like if I didn't pay a speeding ticket, are the police then going to come and jump on me? Or is it just for like actual criminals? Because I guess that's kind of smart. It is extremely clever though. They are scanning the photos of your face against a criminal database, your social media profiles, like the whole of the internet. It's insane. Some experts have warned that the actual cameras store your data, tracking everything such as where you go to, who you're then meeting, how long you're there for. Also, unfortunately, these cameras aren't government owned. They're buying them from third-party data companies. So instead of the old question, are you being watched? It's now, how often are you being watched?
This is insane. AI-powered self-driving police cars are officially here. Miami just rolled out the first ever autonomous patrol vehicle in the United States, and it doesn't even need a cop behind the wheel. It's called the PUG, short for Police Unmanned Ground Patrol Partner, a Ford Explorer-based robot police cruiser built by Policing Lab and Perron Robotics. This thing can patrol high-crime areas, it can scan license plates, it can detect stolen cars, and even launch a drone into the sky, all while feeding real-time data back to command centers. It's packed with thermal imaging, 360-degree cameras, and an AI that can recognize patterns, identify suspicious activity, and alert human officers when backup is needed. Officials call it a force multiplier, designed to enhance officer safety and free deputies from repetitive patrol work so that they can focus on human interaction. Now, for now, it's part of a one-year pilot program in Miami-Dade, where it'll appear at public events as police gather community feedback. Now, some see this as the future of law enforcement, others as a step toward sort of RoboCop territory, but one thing is for sure, Miami's newest recruit doesn't eat donuts, doesn't take breaks, and never blinks. The age of AI policing has officially begun.
IDOS is a program that is the modern instantiation of a very old idea. This idea that you are going to augment the vision of soldiers and give them superhuman perception abilities. You can see at night, you can see thermal signatures, you can see hyperspectral signatures, you have extraordinary superhuman hearing, you're able to mark targets in the environment without projecting anything in the environment. You can seamlessly see in your heads-up display where all of your friends are, where all of the innocents and non-combatants are, and have that all just seamlessly presented to you as if you're Superman. You can see through walls, you can see through night, you can see through fog. You are Superman. IDOS is a $22 billion contract. Plan is not to put this on the heads of one person, it's to put it on the heads of every single person in the army who's bearing a rifle. Anyone who's making contact with the enemy is going to have superhuman augmented vision that allows them to never miss,